Well, joining us on the programme now from Nigeria is former presidential aspirant and entrepreneur Adamu Garba II. You're most welcome. So, Adamu, after a month of talks, the US has been unable to strike a new security pact with Niger. Why do you think it failed?
You see, I think the West generally need to brace themselves for a complete evacuation from Africa. Because the whole concept that allow Western military bases in Africa was to provide security. For instance, we didn't start with the United States military bases. We started with the French Operation Barkhane forces. Prior to the coming of Barkhane forces in the Sahel, the total amount of death due to violent extremism was just 1%. But as of 2021, it was 35%. So you need to question yourself, what are they doing to provide the security that they say they are providing in the Sahel? Similarly, in 2008, when base 201 was set up in Agadez and base 101, the United States were there to fight against violent extremists and terrorists within the Sahel. But the attack in Niger Republic itself multiplied even by 2. So you now wonder, are they really providing the security guarantees that they say they are doing after signing agreement to come and settle in these countries? When you also have references in countries like Burkina Faso, like Mali, like Guinea-Conakry, particularly Mali, that was taken over in 2013 by what is called Ansar Dine and some of these violent extremist Al-Qaeda-affiliated terrorist organizations, simply by removing French Barkhane in their countries, they are able to find peace and stability with their relationship with the Russian Federation. So it now begs the question, what is the Western powers doing in the Sahel if their presence increase in the activities of terrorists as opposed to reducing it? I believe these are the reasons why this government are asking them to vacate their territories.
A lot of interesting points. I'll pick up on some of them, but just firstly, some US troops actually said they had felt abandoned and stranded in Niger for the past month after Niamey first told them to start packing up. It follows, as you say, a lack of apparent success in their anti-terrorism mission in the Sahel. Do you think they actually might be happy to finally leave the country?
I think, apart from those policymakers that sit in Washington to take decisions, the troops that are actually on the ground will be very happy to leave, simply because the mission that they are there to do is a failure. And there will be no serious soldier that will wear uniform, will come with an intention to provide security, while seeing in his very presence that the security they are providing doesn't work and expect him to stay there. He is a failure, and that's why they became stranded. And when you listen to what General Michael L. Langley is talking about to the US Congress, he was simply running blame games across different places. Disinformation, some activities of encroachment of Russia, China, Iran. So when you look at all those things, you will see that there's a complete failure in the operation. And that now leaves the US troops to decide what is it that they should do. And I believe that is why they are stranded, because they have no mission to fulfill, and therefore they have to think of evacuation. I'm sure they will be very happy to go back home to their families.
These latest developments come just a day after neighbouring Chad also told the US to close an airbase in that country. Things appear to be ramping up in the region, and at haste.
Yes. It's ramping up. That's why I started this interview by saying that the West entirely should have to prepare themselves for evacuating their military forces within the Sahel, because they come to Sahel, made it relatively peaceful, and then convert it to a very violent region. The only country that have a rapid decline in violent extremism is Nigeria, my own country. We have about 71% decline in terrorist activities and 51% decline in ISWAP activities in the country. But we don't have US military bases. We don't have French military bases. There is no foreign military base in our country. So it means that these countries, if they take it upon themselves to secure their borders, they will do more better job than allowing foreign military bases that their care is just to plunder local resources in the name of providing security.
I heard a point Adamu made on American media. I'll put the same one to you. French troops and diplomats were recently kicked out of several African countries too. Those nations, though, have a painful history with France being a former colonial power, unlike the US on the continent, in Africa. So this person in the media asked, why is Washington becoming increasingly unpopular in that part of the world? We did nothing wrong. That's essentially the point he was making.
Yeah, but you cannot disconnect United States from its own multilateral institution that has been operating in Africa. We know what USAID has been doing, and you know that most of these leaders, now that information is very available, they know that even the French operating in African continent will not succeed without United States support. And that is even why there is direct relationship between the Operation Barkhane Force and the US military bases in Niger, in Niamey. So when you look at this, you will see that there is no way you will disconnect United States from activities of other Western powers in Africa. Because if there is any problem with any of the Western powers, you cannot run to the United States and ask them to support you. They won't support you. And everybody is seeing these things of what is manifesting today in Israel. When there was clear genocide, but the US and the West decided to blindly support the country of their interests against human rights. So nobody will want to associate with that kind of relationship where it is purely interest-driven against the interests of the people and against the countries where they are operating from.
Always food for thought when former Nigeria presidential aspirant and entrepreneur Adamu Garba II is on the programme. Many thanks for your time this weekend.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.